Hey everyone, so right now what I'm going to do in this video is show you a very bare minimum basic understanding of how to get up and running in Pro Tools from the start from a recording standpoint. Let's jump right into it. So assuming that you have downloaded your iLok and got Pro Tools installed, here is the very first screen that you're greeted with. And basically this is the dashboard. Now within the dashboard, this is where we're going to name our session, as well as just set up some very bare minimum kind of settings as far as everything is concerned. So right here, we're greeted with name, which is the name of your song or session. Let's just call this Pro Tools. Okay, so this will be the name of our session. Very important, please name your sessions. There's a lot of reasons why this is important. I shouldn't have to explain this to you. Now from here are the settings that really matter as far as what you select. File type, I leave this alone. I love it at WAV. It just works. It's fine, unless I know some people use AIFF and all kinds of other formats, but my suggestion, just leave it alone. WAV will just do you just fine. You'll be great. Next part is the bit depth. Highly recommend if you are using a specific version of Pro Tools that allows you to do 32-bit depth, definitely go for it. It's amazing. There's a lot of talks and reason why, and we can do a separate video on that, but I won't get too deep into it. But just know for yourself that I highly recommend and love 32-bit flow for my sessions. The other part on the right-hand side is sample rate. Now, when it comes to sample rate, here's something that I want you to think about. Can your computer handle it? And when I say that is, see it like this. When you open up plugins and stuff like that on your session, is your computer up to par in the sense of being able to handle something like 96 kilohertz or 192 and these things of that nature? Me personally, 48 has always just been a really nice sweet spot for me. What this does is, and what the sample rate is doing is, to not get so deep into this, is how many snapshots your converter is basically going to be taking to re-emulate that audio, that analog signal, into the digital space. The higher the sample rate, the more snapshots or accurate the actual analog signal is going to be represented in the digital space. Now, there are a lot of arguments about this as far as things not sounding as great at the higher sample rates, or is it really worth it, etc. Not here to discuss that. My biggest thing for this, if you're looking at this, think about the power of your computer and if you have the processing power. Personally, for me, 48 kilohertz is great. I've used it for years. Some people use higher ones, to each his own. You can find information about that for yourself. But for me, 48, I love it. It's been fine, and I'm just gonna go with 48 kilohertz. Someone far smarter than me in the comment section, load it up. Everything else is staying the same except for this. Location. Now, when you're picking a location, this is basically where you're actually going to be dropping the file in, or where the file is going to be saved. Make sure that you know exactly where this file is going to be saved, and be very careful so that you don't lose the session later and start looking for it. This is very self-explanatory and very bare minimum surface, I understand, but just make sure you keep that in mind. You click location and pick where you want that session to be. This is where the entire session, all the audio files and everything, is going to live. So let's say, for instance, I want to put it on my desktop just for fun. So I'm gonna hit open. Cool. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit create. When I hit create, a file on my desktop is going to be created. That's going to be the name of the session, called Pro Tools. Let's hit create. Boom. And now here is where I'm greeted, the very start of the screen. Now, if I look at the desktop, as you can see right here, guess what you'll see? You'll see a session file or a folder here that says Pro Tools, because we decided to name it that. So this is my session. So here's the session file folder. This is where everything is going to live. The audio files, plugin data, all kinds of stuff. Okay? All right. Now, you're sitting here and you're saying to yourself, how do I get started? Where do I go? What's happening? What's next? The next thing I'm going to assume that you're going to do is, if you are, for instance, a singer-songwriter and you have an instrumental, right, that you would like to bring into the session, how are you going to do that? What you're going to do is you're going to click the actual Pro Tools file up here. You're going to click import, and you're going to click audio. It's very important. Click audio. You're then greeted with this particular screen. Now that you're here, what we're going to do is we're going to import that particular file that you would like to sing to, or that you're bringing into the session. So say, for instance, it's called this Under Frost Pad 1, this beautiful beat that this producer sent you called Under Frost Pad 1. And when you click it, it then drops down to the clips in current file. Now, here's the real tricky part and where I really want you to pay attention. You see this button that says add, and you see this button that says convert. There is a huge difference between add and convert, and this is where you can get into a lot of trouble. If I click add, like so, what happens is it doesn't create a copy of that particular file and put it inside of your audio files folder inside the Pro Tools session. Instead, what it does is says, oh, the file is over there in that documents, files, this, that setting. It just takes the path and says, I'll just link to that path, and that's what I'll listen to as far as clicking add. To me, why is that an issue? Well, if you decide one day to move that particular file, guess what Pro Tools is gonna say? I don't know where that file is and I don't have it. And it's gonna create an issue in your session. Now, the button convert instead. Convert takes a copy of that particular file in that documents file setting folder, creates a copy of it, and then puts it in your audio files folder in the session folder. And now that's where it stays, resides, and lives, and you won't lose the actual file because it's in the session file as far as the actual folder. So this will, as far as convert is concerned, house all of the audio files that you bring into the session into the actual session's audio files folder, which I'll show you. Desktop, Pro Tools, audio files. This is where this particular sound or beat or instrumental from the producer is going to be brought into. It's going to make a copy of it from wherever it is and make a copy and put it into this audio files folder, allowing you to not lose the files later, be able to send the session with ease to other producers or whoever, and just make the process a lot more seamless. This is a huge mistake that I see people make. And to me, back in the day when we were worried about our hard drive space, this was powerful because we couldn't afford to have so much space bogging up, converting everything and doubling all of our files. I don't think a lot of us have that issue anymore. My suggestion, press convert. It'll save you a lot of time, headache on everything. Okay, so that's convert. So now what you could do is, just to be sure that the file is correct, you can hit this play button to preview the file to make sure it's correct as far as what you're bringing in. But for the most part, I'm not touching anything else here. Everything is what it is. So I'm going to press open. Now the source sample rate is 44.1 as far as what the actual underfrost pad _1 is, but it's going to upsample, which is not truly upsampling for the most part, to 48 kilohertz as far as the sample rate. Once again, we can have this discussion in the comments, but just know I'm just going to hit convert. It's going to convert it to 48 kilohertz, which is not truly what it's doing, but I'm just putting it on your radar. Don't worry about it. This is just a very basic and bare minimum kind of description of it. We'll talk about it more if you want to know more about it. I'm going to click open. Now it's asking for choose a destination folder. It is already defaulting to the session's audio files folder. My recommendation, let it cook. Just let it be there as far as the audio files folder that it is already kind of predetermined, and leave it there. If you decide that you would like to put it somewhere else as far as where that copy of this file is going to then get pasted to, make sure you know where it is. My suggestion, once again, just put it and let it convert and copy into the audio files folder of the session. Mad important. Open. Now it's converting and processing the audio. Next thing it's going to ask you is, would you like to create a new track, or would you like to put this in the clip list? Now, when you create new track, what's going to happen is it's going to literally put the file inside the actual session in your timeline that you can press play. If you decide to click clip list, it's instead going to put it in the clips or the regions file list, where you can drag and drop it for later. It's going to be in the session's ethos, but it's not going to be in the physical timeline. To each his own. There's a lot of different reasons why you could want that, but for the most part, if you're just looking to put this track inside the session at the session start, then you click new track and press OK. Boom. So now this new track has been created. It's in our session, and it's right here. Now, what you can do is you can change the height of the tracks and stuff like that. If you want to visually see more of it, you can literally hover right underneath the track and pull it down if you would like to see more, or pull it up if you'd like to see less of it. There's also a way to do it with basically clicking around and just moving the track heights and stuff like that. Okay, so now that you've basically set up and imported the actual file into the session, you may be saying to yourself, okay, I think I may be ready to sing a song. Now, before you sing a song or before you do anything, you may also be saying to yourself, I need to turn down the instrumental. How would I do that? There's two different ways that you can turn down an instrumental. One that I recommend actually over the other, which I won't get too deep into, but I'm just going to show you two different ways you can lower the instrumental. One is physically going to the volume, which is right here, clicking this and holding, and then pulling it down, depending on how far you want it to go. The other you could do is, I'm gonna put this back to 0, is you can go to the actual clip region itself and turn it down from the clip region, like so. There's a bunch of different reasons why you would do it this way versus the actual volume fader. We can have a discussion about it. If you'd like to know more about that, just let me know in the comments. I'll explain it. But like I said, this is a surface level tutorial as far as Pro Tools and getting up and running for a beginner. So you can turn it down either way, just like that, by turning down the fader as of like so. And then you could do it also from the clip region like so. There's also another side of this entire DAW, which is the actual mix window. If I click window, and I click mix, I am now greeted with the mix window. The other window that we were working on was called the edit window, or the timeline for the most part. You can choose what view works best for you. This one is great for me when I'm looking and starting to mix things as far as using plugins, which we'll talk about a little later. But these are the two windows that you can work with. So I'm gonna go back to the edit window. And on the edit window, long story short, here is how routing is set up. So think to yourself, you have a DAW, and let's say, for instance, you have a Focusrite interface or whatever interface you're using for the most part. You need to make sure that sound is outputting through that actual interface. The key to this is setting up the output. How do you decide, or how do you figure out, or how do you say, hey, this instrumental beat that I have right here needs to output to my interface as far as outputs 1 and 2? What I'll do is you click this thing right here. So right here, you see this little thing that says IO. IO has under it the input, which is at the top, and the output, which is at the bottom. The input allows you to set what you want the input of this actual audio track to be. Being that it's an instrumental, it's a beat, I don't care about this, we don't need it, so I'm not even paying attention to it. What I'm paying attention to for this one in particular is the output. So for me, and majority of our systems, as far as what your interface is, the outputs are 1 and 2 of whatever the DAW, as far as, you know, a Focusrite interface or a RME interface. A lot of the times, or majority of the times, it's 1 and 2. So I'm gonna go out 1 and 2. Boom. Now I should have sound coming out of my speakers 1 and 2. Let's take a listen. Cool. So I have sound coming out of the DAW, out 1 and 2 out of my speakers. Cool. So now the beat's loaded up. I'm ready to record. I'm ready to get going. What I'm going to do is I need an audio track to record my vocal on, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit track. I'm going to hit new. And I'm going to be greeted with this screen. Now, what this screen is asking me is two things. It's going to ask me, well, actually, it's going to ask me a bunch of different things. But for you, as far as recording a vocal, what you're looking for is a mono track, as you can see, that is an audio track specifically. Pay attention to this because there's a huge difference between an aux input, a VCA master, a master fader, all of these things. Just know you're looking for a mono audio track if you're recording a vocal sound. If you were recording something, say for instance, like a piano that is stereo with 2 outputs going into the inputs, then of course what you would do is you'd hit stereo audio track. Self-explanatory, you should understand that concept. For me, I usually leave it on samples. There are ticks here as well. We can get to a deeper conversation of the difference between the two, but for me, I usually leave it in samples. We can talk about that in another video. Name, you can name what you want this track to be called, and I'll say vocal, and I'm gonna hit create. Before I hit create, just know that also in one shot, you can create multiple tracks in one sitting in the prompt. So if I click this plus button, you'll see that I can say, okay, I need 1 mono track of vocals. I need 2 of this for stereo. I can create all kinds of iterations and differences with the tracks if I wanted to within the prompt. But for right now, all I need is a mono vocal track because all we're trying to do is record to this beat. So now I'm gonna hit create and boom. Now I have it loaded up and I have this vocal track ready to go for my session. Here's the very last thing you need to understand and remember. You have a mic plugged into your audio interface. Now that you have the mic plugged in audio interface, you need to let Pro Tools know, or this particular audio track know, hey, where is the signal coming from for me to listen to? This is where your inputs come in, like I told you with the IO. So I'm gonna click in, and basically I know that my microphone is coming in on my actual audio interface on channel 1. So I'm gonna tell Pro Tools, hey, the input of this track, I want you to listen to channel 1. Boom. So now this actual audio track is listening and awaiting signal from channel 1. Let me turn this on. Now that channel 1 is loaded up, and this is where my mic is also loaded up, I'm going to now hit the record enable button. Watch this. I'm now getting signal from the microphone. Channel 1 on my actual mic is going into the DAW, and now this is coming into this particular track here. So now I have signal, I'm good to go. And remember, my output is also still set to the same output as my actual beat as well. So I'm hearing those things together. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is record. How would I record? Now, some people would say to themselves, okay, I'm going to start recording and just hit play like so. And you can clearly see that the signal stopped. I'm actually getting no signal at all when I hit the play button with the record enabled, and the microphone just level-wise just kind of dips down. What you need to do in the session is this very last step. You need to go up top to this button up here in the transport, and you need to hit record enable. Boom. So there's two things you need to hit. You need to make sure that the track is record enabled like so. And then you need to make sure that up here in the transport, you also hit this button to start recording. Now, let's try it. And so now I have it recorded, it's in my session, and I'm pretty good to go. And that's really the basics of it all. Now, with this transport, this very last thing I want to show you is, or two little tidbits I want to show you is, here in the transport, you have a bunch of different modes. Now, within these modes, you have normal, you have loop, you have destructive, and you have quick punch. To be honest with you, my favorite on earth is quick punch. The most dangerous one to me is destructive. And the reason why destructive is very dangerous to me is because now when you put your record mode into destructive mode, what happens is, whatever you decide to record on top of, it's going to delete that or get rid of that for good. And to me, it kind of limits you in a sense of, oh no, but I like that one moment, but I recorded over it. It eliminates that as far as putting it into, for instance, like quick punch, which will allow you to trim things out or forward within it. Let me show you what I mean. Quick punch is my favorite mode. And there's a bunch of different reasons why, but let me show you what I mean as far as quick punch is concerned. So right now, what I'm gonna do is, say for instance, I wanna punch in this moment that I have in my vocal. I like the stuff that happened before, but now I'm like, oh, I just wanna fix that one part afterwards. I'm gonna use quick punch mode. So check this out. So by pressing the number 3 on my number pad, it's allowing me to punch in and out while it's simultaneously recording, allowing me to say, catch that moment, then come out, catch that moment, then come out, quickly punch. So keep that in mind. Quick punch allows you to, while you're recording, be able to stop recording the vocal sound or whatever the sound is, or record the sound right into the track itself. So I love quick punch for that. Now, for instance, now that I've recorded this for the most part, remember that beautiful thing I told you about how forgiving quick punch can be in that regard. So remember the take that we did before? Say for instance, we're like, you know what? I really don't like the take I did. Let's just go back to the original. How would I do that? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go right over here to this tool, and I'm going to trim this back out like this. Boom, the original is still there. Now, if I was in destructive mode, this would get destroyed. It would be deleted. It would be gone, and I wouldn't be able to trim that stuff out. But being that I'm in Quick Punch, it allows me and keeps that and retains that information. Now, that was a little deep dive for the most part on it, but just keep that in mind when it comes to it. Personally, I just keep it in Quick Punch. I love Quick Punch. It works, and it just has never failed me. The only other thing besides that is the loop record mode, which is really cool for background vocals and stuff like that, where you can basically say, for instance, you have a stack that you want to go ah da 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 da, ah da 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 da, ah da 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 da. Basically, it'll allow you to record that stuff and just loop the actual recording until you're finished. That's more of an advanced trick for the most part. Maybe we can do that in a more advanced tutorial, but just this is a very, very surface level recording tutorial. So that's that for the most part as far as how to just get yourself up, running, and recording. The last thing that I just want you to pay attention to is actually two things. One is the pre-roll. And right here up above this in this transport is this button. It says pre-roll. What is pre-roll? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit pre-roll on, and that's how you turn it on, by clicking it right there. And then you say to yourself, okay, well, when the singer is singing the song, I know exactly what moment I want the singer to start singing. But obviously the singer and you don't want to look at each other and try to catch each other in the moment of, instead, what you could do is set up a pre-roll where it'll begin recording or begin playback, but then it'll record at the marker that you have set in place. Let me show you just what it looks like so you can get an understanding of it. So first and foremost, just gonna take off my count off. And now what I'm gonna do is I set myself up with a 1 bar pre-roll. As you can see right here, it's set to 1. I can choose how many bars I want this pre-roll to be. I can set it to 4, I can set it to 2. Right now, I'm gonna set it to just 1, like so. So the pre-roll is set. Basically, I'm going to say, hey, I want you to start recording right here at this mark right here. But I want you to give me a 1 bar pre-roll so the singer can catch themselves and find the groove and then start singing at that particular part. Check this out. I'm gonna press 3, which is the button that I'm gonna press to basically start recording and playback. And the reason why I'm gonna press 3 is because, and I've been doing this for so long, is because 3 is the shortcut to allow me to not have to jump up here to click this in order for the recording to start. 3 basically does that for me and is the quick key or shortcut for me to get that button pressed in the actual transport. But you'll see it right now. So basically what you saw was 1 bar before, it just gave me a little bit of that playback happening. So the singer is hearing the music and going, and then boom, at the marker that I've set, that's when recording will actually occur. So it's a very powerful tool, and it's very helpful, especially when you have rappers or just anyone in general singing, and you just want to give them a little bit of pre-roll. You can set this up 2, 3, 4 bars as much as you want. And for the most part, that is a very, very surface level kind of setup of just to get started recording. There's a ton of other things you can learn as far as these tools up here, the hand tool, the trim tool, the selector tool. There's so many different things you can learn in Pro Tools, but for the most part, if you're just looking to get up and running, and if you would like me to give a more in-depth tutorial on some tips and tricks in Pro Tools, let me know in the comment section below. But this is just an updated one for 2025 that I felt like would be great, and I think would help a lot of people, because I'd still get these questions all the time for a bare minimum. Once again, make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. I hope that was enjoyable. And if you have any comments or questions or concerns, please let me know in the comment section below. I hope that was helpful, and until next time, y'all.